Good evening, everyone. Welcome into Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. This is another Florida State Seminoles live show. We welcome you in for the best discussion on Florida State football with my guy, Jason Parker from NBC6. Jason, how you doing tonight?
I had my whole list here. I thought I was going to get to host it again this week here. I didn't know what was going on here. But we are so glad to have Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, back here leading us in
Usually
week 35.
Jason's over there and I'm over there.
See what happened. What happened was I signed up early, and then Mark signed in. So, hey, Mark. Before we begin talking about the 2020 season, I want to give two quick shout outs. If I can just give two quick shout outs. Number one, the FSU basketball team. We are a basketball school now in Tallahassee. We have to own our basketball prowess right now as a number 5 ranked team in the country, highest ranked team in the ACC. So shout out to head coach Leonard Hamilton. Then I want to give a shout out to one of my boyhood idols, Derek Jeter. He's in the Hall of Fame as of today. I was really hoping Logan would be here so I could rub it in as a Yankees fan, but I just want to.
That is obviously a first ballot.
First ballot, one vote away from being unanimous. I'd love to meet the person who decided that Derek Jeter shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame.
Well, that could be stated for players a lot better than Derek Jeter.
Oh, Ken Griffey should have been unanimous. Sure. I'm sorry.
We could go on down the list.
There are 3 idiots who did not vote for Ken Griffey, so that should be number 1. Those people should lose their votes quickly.
I believe Mariano Rivera last year or the year before was the first unanimous selection.
He was, as he should be, because, he didn't need to cheat like the Astros. He just threw a cutter, and you couldn't get it.
Yeah, I'm throwing the cutter. Here it comes.
If you think you can, try it. I dare you.
Talking some Florida State football here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock Eastern time. So the business of the day starts with TJ Rushing, who has a long and storied tenure there on the coaching staff of Florida State, Jason.
You don't get to be one of the greatest assistants in Florida State football history when you last 23 hard-hitting days as a member, as the secondary coach for the Seminoles. TJ Rushing, who came over to Florida State 23 days ago, is now going to, of all places, Texas A&M. That's right, the new evil empire led by Jimbo Fisher did steal him from Tallahassee to College Station for the 2020 season. That one surprised me a little bit. Obviously, Texas A&M saw their coach, their defensive backs coach, heading to the NFL, going to the Cowboys. So, like they did with Jimbo, they sprinkled some money and said, "Hey, you can be 7-5 here in the regular season." So, you know what? I don't know enough about TJ Rushing, to be honest with you. I just want to wish him the best of luck, and hopefully he lasts more than 23 days in College Station. I guess that's his goal. If I can go 28 days, maybe that's his goal there. So now Florida State's in the market for a defensive back coach, and now the speculation will begin. You have plenty of people who are going to throw out a name like Terrell Buckley, except one huge problem is now Terrell Buckley seems to have found a job going from Mississippi State to, it looks like, Ole Miss. So I think Florida State's in a position where right now you do not know who the next defensive back coach is going to be. And let's be honest, after seeing what that defensive backfield did for the last couple seasons, God knows they need anyone to lead that unit.
Okay, so defensive backs coach would be good for a program that obviously has valued its defensive back history and in trying to get back to that elite level of secondary play. At the quarterback position, we've got 2 veteran quarterbacks. We can now call them veteran quarterbacks at Miami, and the addition of a third who has a much better track record than anybody else involved in that quarterback room, with N'Kosi Perry and Jaron Williams struggling, Jason. De'Aaron King accounted for 50 touchdowns, 36 passing, 14 rushing 2 years ago at Houston, and he's now on enemy turf.
This one was interesting, and we had a couple people last week when I was solo here for half an hour on Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, who were asking, should Florida State have gone after someone like De'Aaron King? And I said, with all due respect, I think he is a great player. I question what he could add to the program, and I will admit that I am someone who is a little bit still hurt by what happened with the Everett Golson era in 2015. I think De'Aaron King is a good quarterback. My question is going to be, yes, he threw 50 touchdowns with Houston. Yes, he's going to have better offensive targets in Miami than he did for the Cougars, but he's also going to be going up against better defenses. He's going to be going up against Florida State defenses, Virginia Tech defenses, Virginia defenses. Defense is a lot better than anything he saw in the American Athletic Conference. I think what this is going to be is in talking to people associated with the Hurricanes program. This is going to be a big question of, does this set in stage the point of De'Aaron King plays this year, then next year it's going to be either Tate Martell. Does Tate Martell ever get a chance, or does one of these guys, either N'Kosi Perry or Jaron Williams, whoever doesn't transfer, does one of them get a shot at the 2021 season? And then this new recruit that they bring in, the kid from Connecticut, who everyone seems to think is going to be the saving grace for the Canes, starting in 2022, does he get 3 years, 2 years as the starter from that point? So that's the question. And I think Miami has gone after the transfer portal a lot. It's a different environment down there in Coral Gables. They're not a public school. They don't have a lot of funding and a lot of alumni associations like Florida State, like Florida. Their alumni tend to give more to the academic side than the athletic side. They get their money from boosters. Nevin Shapiro, who may skirt around the rules and may have never gone to school there. It's a different environment, so they have to go more with the transfer portal. So the question is going to be, is De'Aaron King the kind of quarterback that can lead the Canes through the 2020 season? They have a much easier schedule than they had this season. They're replacing a Florida Gators team in the non-conference schedule with Michigan State. Their other games are Temple, UAB, and Wagner, the Fighting Wagner Seahawks. I believe they're the Seahawks. They're up in your area. I believe they're up in the Long Island area.
I would make that a guess on the Seahawks. I'm almost positive you are correct on that one, but I'm not positive.
I think
would not bet the mortgage.
And then they've got Miami has a schedule that should be a 9-10 win team, but the question is, they also had that schedule this season. Can Miami eventually get over that hump of, we're going to live in the past and this is what we should be doing, or are they going to come out and do work? Now, I want to respond to something. Dennis Wilson and Jason, remember you and FSU thought Hornibrook was the savior. Never once did I ever say that Alex Hornibrook was the savior. Dennis Wilson, God bless you. You've been a loyal follower here, but you also make stuff up. Actually gone along here over the last couple of weeks, and during his time here, never once did any one of us here say that Alex Hornibrook was going to be the savior. So sorry about that one.
Yes, we're both here, Premier Youth Theater. Yes, you get both of us, Jason and Mark. What's Logan doing these days? Do we have any idea what he's been up to?
Logan has texted us that he's on the phone, that he should be here momentarily. So we are waiting for Logan. I think he's shotgunning a beer right now. I'm not sure what's going on. We did not fire. We calling him Bushlight Logan. No, sorry, SEC dog. We did not fire him. I don't think we're getting paid, so I don't think you can actually fire somebody who's not getting paid. But that's something we'll talk about later with Mark off camera.
So you're not convinced that De'Aaron King is going to be a difference maker for the Canes?
I'm not convinced that Miami can be a 10-win team that most Miami fans think they should be. I think there is a level of delusion in Coral Gables. I think the same way that there was a level of delusion from some people in Tallahassee during the course of the 2019 season. I'll admit I thought Florida State would be a 9-win team because of what they could do. I think that we don't know yet. Miami on paper with that defense, there are still plenty of good weapons. Yes, they lose Shaq Quarterman. They lose Michael Pinckney. They lose a couple of the leaders, but they have plenty of talent that's still there. The question is going to be, let's not forget the 2016 season when Miami started hot. Then they lose the entire month of October, lose to Florida State, lose to Virginia Tech, lose to Notre Dame, and they end up playing in the Camping World Bowl. So that's going to be the question, and we'll find out more tomorrow when the schedule comes out, because I think the schedule is going to play out. The schedule shows Miami should start off the year 4-0 with all 4 of their non-conference games being right off the top and none of them really being tough. The question is going to be, can Miami play to the level that we know Miami should play to, or will Miami play like the Miami that we have seen in the last couple seasons? That's going to be our biggest thing. Just something a little bit just because Miami's on the up and up this year on the way back. How is Miami on the way up? You lost to FIU, Louisiana Tech, and Duke. Dennis, we love you, buddy. Thank you for your support. Use facts. It's this thing called facts. You can try it, buddy. Okay, we had the same record. One of your wins was against us. If you don't beat us, you don't go to a bowl game. You don't get a chance to get shut out by Louisiana Tech. You should thank us for not being so good this season. You're welcome, Dennis.
Yeah, Dennis is a big Canes fan, and certainly there is a delusional section of the fan base for any program, any team, and the only delusion that doesn't exist right now is with LSU fans. They can believe whatever they want and think whatever they want because they just ripped off 15 consecutive impressive wins, and the future looks great. And obviously, Clemson, there's nothing wrong with the program there. It's not dysfunctional to say the least. It's still arguably the best program. So there's a few that out there, but everybody else needs to dream or wants to dream or think more highly of their program, especially when there's been a storied past that is no longer the reality. Like the two programs that we talk about the most right here, Florida State, 90% of the time. But if we're not talking Florida State, it seems to be Miami crops up in the conversation
and
quite a bit.
One of the viewers, thank you everyone for watching us so far, was asking, do I think there's a time when Florida State, Miami, and Florida could all be playoff contenders? I think that would be amazing for there to be a time when all three. I don't think that will ever happen with Florida State and Miami both being in the ACC. However, I think Florida will be a playoff contender this year. I think Georgia losing a few of their star players, especially Jake Fromm, will make Florida an instant contender in the East. I think Miami right now, I would say at the moment, is slightly ahead of Florida State as far as talent. However, I think Florida State is slightly ahead as far as coaching. And I think that's because Mark Norvell has taken a serious kind of a builder approach. And I think to a certain extent, Manny Diaz is continuing to live in the past. He's been a lot more quiet this offseason than he was all of 2019. So I'm going to give him some credit for that. But at the same point, Miami is continuing to be in the live in the past moment. We're going to continue to live in the past. Won a national title in 2001 and blah, blah, blah. Florida State won a national title literally 6 seasons ago, 2013 season, and doesn't talk nearly as much about their past as Miami does. That's what Miami does. That's how Miami does their stuff. That's fine. We get used to that. But to answer Anthony's question, shout out to Anthony, one of your guys on here, I do think there is a day when Florida and one of the other two teams, either Miami or Florida State, could be in the playoffs. But I don't think that all three will ever make the playoffs in the same season. Yeah, well, that would be a hell of a playoff to have all three Florida teams in it.
Luigi Green, certainly appreciative of Jason's efforts last week. Jason did a fine job lifting the entire channel up on his shoulders. It was a great show.
I only went a half an hour because I can talk. I can BS like the best of them, but there's only so much I can do, so I apologize.
Let's talk about this 2020 schedule that was just released across the ACC. All the 14 teams released their schedules. So it all starts out with that West Virginia showdown on September 5th in Atlanta.
I can't wait to find out our schedule tomorrow at 9 a.m., mostly because I want to put in my days off from work. But I think that's going to be our biggest question is going to be, and we'll look at the schedule as the rest of this hour goes on. The biggest question is going to be for Florida State, what their schedule could be. Florida State right now, if you look at the non-conference games, are going to be the toughest part, where you have West Virginia, who, yes, it's West Virginia. They had a tough season this year, but it still is going to be a West Virginia game in Atlanta to start off the season. Then you have Boise State 2 weeks later, and we've talked about that. Logan, there he is, ladies and gentlemen, Logan Robinson in the house.
Oh, man, hopefully it's coming through. Is it coming through?
Yeah, we hear you.
Oh, you're here.
Okay.
Put down the beer.
This is water and textbooks and Bibles only.
Okay, we believe that for a moment.
No, I don't want to interrupt what you are talking about.
No, we were just talking about the schedule, and I was saying tomorrow, obviously, we'll find out at 9 a.m., and I think that's going to be our biggest question is where will the ACC – is the ACC going to be good to Florida State? Florida State plays home contest again in the conference against Clemson, against Pitt, Wake Forest, and Boston College. So on paper, it's not a difficult schedule. We're going to get annihilated by Clemson. Obviously, let's just be honest with ourselves here on this one. But Pitt, Boston College, Wake Forest are all winnable games. Then you have the road games against Louisville, NC State, Miami, and I'm missing. Who am I missing? Help me out, Logan.
Oh, let me.
Did you mention Stanford? Are we talking about?
We're talking about ACC game.
ACC game.
ACC. Let's see.
Well, the non-division games are Pitt and
Pitt and Miami.
Miami.
Let's look at it real quick. I was a standby, folks. Here, 1 moment, please.
Louisville. There's Miami. Yeah. Syracuse.
How could I forget the Orange? Sorry. Shout out to the people in Western New York. I do apologize.
Oh yeah.
Right there. And obviously, you know me as such a proud man of everything New York here. Derek Jeter, Hall of Famer. Had to give you that one there, Logan. But
oh yeah.
You look there. The non-conference games, the conference games on the road. Syracuse, NC State, Louisville, all winnable games. But it's going to be the question of where the ACC decides to put them. We talked about this before. You have Boise State and West Virginia in the first 3 games. Do they give you a nice home game against a Boston College team, a road game against NC State? Do they give you something like that? Or do you throw Clemson off the top, and then there's a chance Florida State could be 2-2, and once again you're sitting there going, "What the hell? We're a 2-2 team." That's what I want to see tomorrow at 9:00. I want to see, is the ACC going to be generous, knowing that right now, let's be honest, the last couple seasons it's been Clemson and the 13 Dwarfs. That's basically what the ACC has been. Are they going to do something to build up a team like a Florida State? Are they going to build up a team like Miami, like a North Carolina, somebody who can compete with Clemson? Or is it going to be one of these things where they say, you know what, we got Clemson, we got our moneymaker, let's let them annihilate everyone else?
Yeah, I would think hopefully that Florida State will have a little bit of time and an easy opponent or so before facing Clemson, because this is ACC's, usually, it is, should be the biggest game in between the conference here in Division Two, and then also you get the home opener against Samford, which hasn't been officially released from Florida State, but Samford went ahead and did theirs. And then looking, you get the big home games now. You get the Gators, of course, and you get Clemson. So it's usually it's an even year, so it's a good year for Florida State and home. And I also saw, I believe from Tallahassee Democrat, they released that they're doing pretty good right now selling tickets. The one in Atlanta is priced throughout the roof, but just got to wait till the third-party sites and sellers come out. But that's way too much money. But so far, I think a lot of the fan base has kind of bought in a little bit into what Norvell is doing. Obviously, I think majority of those also were not too big of fans of Willie Taggart after a little while too. So you're getting a little bit more of a kind of like a restart, hopefully inside the program. But what Norvell is saying right now is working out, and I think what FSU, is there something you're looking for?
Yeah, I'm just looking for the trailer that I live in. I think it's an apartment I live in. I think it's a trailer, and I think I probably make more in a month than Jeff Lynn makes in his entire year. But okay, whatever, Jeff. Shout out to you, buddy.
I think I think you're getting Clemson at home too, and I hope Florida State has a good enough year or two this upcoming season to where you see Trevor Lawrence play against a really good coached but also highly talented defense from Florida State, and maybe can give him some trouble. I'm kind of just thinking of storylines months and months and months and months in advance, but Florida State's bringing back a lot of experienced guys, highly talented, and Florida State also brings in a really talented and nasty defensive front too. Just thinking, against Trevor Lawrence, but also Clemson's bringing in 3 5-star defensive tackles, freshmen. But yeah,
Logan, listen, man. I love you. I love your support for the Noles. You're going to be a proud graduate in a couple months. I will support you and welcome you into our alumni association here. Clemson is going to annihilate us. They are going to dog stomp us. They are going to murder us. It's going to be ugly. There is no chance. Let's just say this right now. There is no way Florida State beats Clemson this year.
Was I saying that? Don't even come after me saying that. I just said I think it should be this defense if it's correctly, and they also have a good DB coach that they have to replace now. I think
desperate for storylines.
I'm desperate for anything right now, and a win would help.
This is true.
So just to catch everybody up to speed, we've been talking about the 2020 schedule. So we know the teams,
We do.
we know the non-conference opponents and the dates. We're just awaiting the ACC portion of things.
4 was it 9 a.m. tomorrow? 9 a.m. tomorrow?
Yeah, I think so. You said 9. Yeah, it should be 9 a.m. It should be either morning or noon.
It's 9 a.m. and then by 9:05 I should have my days off in to my boss, and so we're good. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's good.
it goes good. I know. I think for Florida State now, once again, Florida State's going to face in Atlanta. It's not a home game, but it's two teams that still have a lot of work to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that game, I was there at the Alabama game, and that's SEC country though. But Florida State fans showed up pretty well, and Florida State should be able to have a good home crowd, at least coming from being in the Southeast over here, coming up to Atlanta. And I think that will be a pretty good game for both teams to really figure out what in the heck they actually are going to be. And what I think one thing Florida State has an advantage of is Mike Norvell is bringing in staff that has coached with him before. I don't think there's going to be a huge transition phase from how they need to be connected behind closed doors and their meetings and watching film, because a lot of them have already interacted and done a lot of coaching with Norvell. Whereas then with Willie Taggart, he had to bring in a good amount of guys that also were had never had experience working under Mike or under Willie Taggart. So I think there's some interesting storylines heading into that September kickoff.
He's still better than Jimbo.
Who's better than Jimbo?
Jimbo stole our defensive back coach, and you're sitting here once again wanting to rip Willie. All right? Fly, owls, fly. Fly, owls, fly.
I'm trying to give some positivity here in January.
No, we're just trying to figure out what we're going to talk about for the next 8 months. Let's be honest. We can all be grown.
Yeah, I'm adding on to some.
If you guys want me to come up with topics every week, I can do that. Believe me, we can delve into the history books. We can.
Oh, now that's hard
all
for
sorts
me.
of fun questions. Okay.
I mean, I'm sorry. You had a couple weeks off. I was sitting here. I was slaving over a hot YouTube channel, trying to make sure that I was even giving Mark Rogers TV a shout out last week when no one was around. Logan doesn't show up. James Coleman doesn't show up.
You were on my channel.
I was on the channel, but I was giving you love and respect. You were nowhere near it, but I still gave you love and respect. And this is the thanks I get.
Our topic for next week, our fun topic on the side of any news that comes out, our fun topic is going to be name your favorite current Seminole and your favorite all-time. It's going to have nothing to do with Derek Jeter, who would have signed with and did sign with Michigan, actually. Favorite Nole currently, favorite all-time Seminole. Next week.
Wait,
I'm good for that. That sounds good to me. I already got mine kind of figured out here. The all-time one, though, I might have to. I'm gonna have to pick someone that. I don't know.
Whoever your favorite is.
Well, you're 12, so it's
doesn't have to be the greatest.
Yeah.
Favorite.
I thought my facial hair was helping.
Those of us who are old, like Mark and I, here we have to go back a little bit. Yes, Mark, we're old. Let's be honest. We know our place. All right, it's fine.
Y'all look young, though.
No, we don't. I don't. I got a yarmulke mark right here.
No. Did we already talk about TJ rushing?
We did. But go ahead. Go ahead. You were late to the party. We talked about him.
I know.
I ripped Jimbo. You go.
We decided that we couldn't fit it all in, all the analysis, that we were going to schedule a separate hour to run down the coaching career at Florida State of TJ Rushing.
Oh man, yeah, no, he's really was influential here so far. I don't know. One thing, a lot of people were disappointed whenever he was first hired at FSU, and then I heard personally from players on the team that they really were excited about the hire because a lot of them had friends that played as a defensive back at Memphis. So they said a lot of good things about Rushing. And also whenever he got there, they interacted really well and they were excited. But obviously it seems like Rushing is going to go take a little bit more money and go to Texas A&M. Jimbo must see something really, really well in him. But Florida State has got to find a good defensive back coach because it's ridiculous and annoying how many times Florida State continues to bring in highly touted recruits from high school that are in the defensive back position and they don't excel on the field. Stanford Samuels is leaving FSU because Norvell doesn't want him. He's declaring, but that should be straight up. Stanford Samuels third is leaving Florida State because Mike Norvell, which he's done also with a few other guys, saying bye-bye. You're not really going to play as much. And he also probably didn't like what he saw on the film and maybe what he also saw at the bowl game firsthand. But actually, did Samuels play for the bowl game? Did he announce that? Yeah, no, he announced it before. So Norvell saw something in the film in the season before too. But yeah, Florida State's got to find a defensive back coach who actually knows how to coach that unit, not one that is also distracted on another unit or coaching a whole other defense. But you know what? Barnett, it seemed like he was all over the place. Also, Barnett's defense wasn't coaching. He wasn't coaching the system that he's used to at Michigan State until he coached in the bowl game, whereas the defense actually played pretty well.
Jason, who was the fast talker in your family?
My dad, he's a New Yorker. So mom's just the Miami Jew. Dad's the loud New York Italian Catholic. So that's where it works. And now I'm going to speak slowly and clearly, so that I don't have the fast talking gene.
Huh?
According to Mr. What was his name? I'm sorry.
I think it was Jay Jobs.
Jay Jobs. Jay Jobs, is this slow and simple enough for you there?
People are asking it.
Anthony's asking Florida State football, what is your prediction for the next big conference realignment?
I think the ACC will eventually. Are we ready? Are we ready for it?
Give it to us.
I think the ACC will eventually get rid of one team and have to bring Notre Dame in full time. I think there's going to come a time where Notre Dame is going to have to join a conference. It's for lack of a term, poop or get off the pot. I'm cleaning it up here for Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. But there's going to come a time where Notre Dame is going to have to just wake up and join a conference. I think it was cute when they were an independent like Florida State and Penn State and Miami, South Carolina, when all these schools were independent in the 80s and the early 90s. It doesn't work the same now. And so there's going to come a time. So the question is going to be, who does the ACC get rid of? Do they get rid of a team like a Syracuse? Remember, Syracuse had that great year in 2018. They were supposed to be the team to compete with Clemson. And then they went, was it 5-7 or 4-8 this past year? They had a losing record this past year. Are they going to get rid of a team like Louisville? Does Louisville end up leaving and going to a conference like the Big 12, where they could set up a possible rivalry with West Virginia, the old Big East rivalry? Do they get rid of Pittsburgh? I'm still trying to figure out how the hell Pittsburgh got into the ACC. I mean, I know why and how they got into the ACC, but I'm still trying to figure out where that came from. So these are going to be the questions, and I do think there will come a time where Notre Dame will eventually join the ACC as a full-time football member.
Need that NBC money.
Oh, please, God. As a proud NBC employee, I would love that to happen.
Yeah. Tired of them having that?
No, I think
prime time.
But I think I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I think that's where the ACC screwed up from the beginning. The ACC should have, from the beginning, when you bring Notre Dame in, say, okay, you don't want us to join or you don't want to join as a full-time member. You want to stay a football independent, play a couple of our schools. That's fine. Let us in on the NBC money. And you look at it. We've talked about this. Number one market in the country is New York. I'm sorry. You have Syracuse there. You have all these different schools in the area. Number two, Los Angeles. Number three is Chicago. You have the Notre Dame audience. You have Boston. You have Philly, where you have the Pittsburgh crowd and the Syracuse crowd. You have three of the top 20 markets in the country in the state of Florida alone. You have Atlanta in the top 10. You have all these great markets. All of them have these great NBC affiliates. A lot of them are owned by the network. This is a perfect chance to profile, to put out the network. You've got Clemson. You've got Florida State. Both of them won their national titles in that time. You could have made the ACC on NBC, and the ACC was more worried about spending what seemed like a decade coming up with their stupid cable network that I can't even watch because I'm a Comcast subscriber.
That was almost 50%, 60% roast.
It was, because I'm tired of this basketball conference. And we're still a basketball conference. We act like we're a basketball conference. And football, it's just, by the way, we play football 4 months out of the year. You have Clemson, who played for the national title now. I believe that's 4 times in the last 5 years. Florida State won a national title six years ago. 7 seasons ago.
Oh, I thought this whole topic was talking about the Notre Dame game against Florida State with the number 5 ranked FSU basketball team. Dang it! I thought that's what we were talking
No, I
about.
was ripping the ACC. So I was ripping our home.
If this is the James Vose that I know, it's the James Vose who joined me from Autzen Zoo last night to talk Oregon football, asking about the quarterback for the Noles for 2020.
This is this is a topic that I think there's still some people that may be in Tallahassee or they might be leaving Tallahassee depending on, I don't know. Norvell, I think Blackman will fit. He fits better in this system than what he had with Taggart and Briles. That's a fact. He should. But I give it to some of the new guys that have come in, Roadmaker, Purdy. I think there will be a very, very, very good quarterback competition. For some reason, I know Norvell also noted that he wasn't going to bring in any graduate QB transfers, but there might be a surprise during this offseason that we might not even see coming. I know there is another quarterback that is interested in Florida State. That is a highly touted quarterback that is still, he hasn't even hit the transfer portal, but there is some interest between wanting to go to Florida State, but I don't know if that's true. So I don't want to name on it.
Whoa.
But I think,
spill the name. No, spill names.
Spill the name?
Break it here. Mark Rogers TV, break news. Come on now.
Breaking news on the good old Mark Rogers. Wait 1 second. Let me see if I'm allowed to say it.
We're checking in.
While he's looking it up,
I'm refreshing.
What's up?
I'm refreshing. Sorry.
Okay. James Blackman will enter spring football as the starting quarterback, and I think that's almost going to be by default. I think Mike Norvell doesn't want to look at what took place in the Sun Bowl and say that's the reason why, that's the excuse I'm going to use for benching you. We all have bad days. We all have, bad days at work, bad days here on Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, and it happens. So I think he basically wants James Blackman to almost play himself out of the spot. I think Jordan Travis will legitimately get a lot of shots. I don't think he wants to play either Chuba Hurdy or Tate Roadmaker off the top. I think in a perfect world, he would love to give them a chance to learn the system and allow them to just not throw them into the fire so quickly the way James Blackman was thrown in as a true freshman in 2017. So if the betting money right now is that James Blackman will be the starting quarterback in spring football, but I would not be surprised to see Jordan Travis be the starter when Florida State plays West Virginia.
Yeah, James Blackman is the easy choice for sure, just because experience, and also he fits the system, like I said, way, way better than the past ones. I do think there will be a really good quarterback coming. You got 4 quarterbacks now that will compete. Like you said, Jordan Travis too, if they'll allow him to throw. They'll allow him to throw a little bit. If he can hit the books a little bit more and learn the plays, and we might be able to see him throw. But we saw that system before with Jordan Travis works better under Willie Taggart and what they were doing under Kendall Briles too. Very fast. Look, he's got a backpack there. FSU.
I've got my Dora touchdown backpack, turnover backpack.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But yeah, Florida State also gets to bring in another NFL talent, wide receiver too, and Blackman has worked well with them. But I think Norvell is going to open it up all the way. I don't know if they'll even want to name blah 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 behind the scenes Blackman the starter per se, but I think going in, I think it's going to be wide open QB battle. No matter if you're young, I think Norvell has something for Purdy too. Chuba Purdy, who flipped from Louisville to FSU.
My last backpack was somewhere in the 7th or 8th grade range. How many, what's a percentage on college kids wearing the backpack back and forth to class?
That's for you, Logan. You're in college.
Oh, who brings their quarter? I was reading the question.
Percentage of backpack wearers in college.
They still do. I just bring my laptop, like my sleeve, and I just have my pen in there. But so there's a lot of people that wear backpacks still.
I'm the only one who wears a backpack to WTBJ. If you want to do that ratio.
Okay. That's a
I
good one.
can't do the ratio. What's your employee count there at? I can't remember the call letters. NBC 6.
WTVJ. Well, between us and Telemundo 51, we got about 80 in the newsroom alone. So yeah, 1 out of 80. Some about
You
one.
are unique, Jason.
Well, you got a lot, so that's fine. Yeah,
Nothing wrong with that.
I have heard that you are not the first person to say that today alone. Hey, more importantly, who are we rooting for in the Super Bowl? Anyone?
I was asked this last night. I had rooting interest in the NFC Championship game.
Okay.
Like Aaron Rodgers, I knew that they would get annihilated, so it didn't surprise me. But that's who I was rooting for. I did not have a preference in the AFC, none at all. I guess the tiebreaker in the Super Bowl would be Andy Reid. He's been around a long time. He needs to get the brass ring. He seems like a good guy. That would be my tiebreaker, but I can't say that I would give it much thought past that.
I'm rooting for this thing to be over with already. We're literally 2 days in down here, and I'm rooting for the Super Bowl to finally be over with. But I'm going to go Chiefs. I'm going Chiefs. I like them. I want to see Patrick Mahomes. I do want to see Andy Reid destroy the fast food buffet that he'll get when the Chiefs go to the White House eventually. So, yeah, I want to see that. I do want to see that.
Go 49ers. I don't think it'll be close, to be honest. I don't think it'll be too much of a close game. They're a good team. I like Shanahan. I don't think it's going to be really close. I mean, that looked like ease, and they let off the gas pedal against Aaron Rodgers and Green Bay. But I plan on moving to San Francisco after college, so I need to start pulling from a little bit. Go Steelers still. Where's Antonio Brown? What's going on? Is he arrested yet? We miss you. But other than that, go 49ers. I don't think it's going to be close.
SEC dog, it's Bud Light Logan, not Butt Light Logan. Bud Light. I know they sell them in Athens. I've had
Natty Ice.
It's Bud Light Logan on that one. By the way, just real quick question: have you watched any of the playoffs, Logan? Since I know your Steelers were eliminated by the Ravens to end the regular season.
Yeah, that was really crappy also to see that Ravens game. I felt so bad for them just at their home turf. It just sometimes some teams just can't do it. And they just can't move on from the second round, but still their first game, they just can't hold on. And, it's good to see Lamar Jackson really sling that thing really well because it's good to see him at running back in a few years.
Did they televise that game in Pittsburgh since you guys weren't actually in the playoffs? Did they actually televise it so your players could watch it? Duck Hodkins.
We also watched it with about 8 of our starting players that were out for a majority of the season too. We all sat down and watched it, and my quarterback that's dealing with an elbow injury that's very scary.
World sponsored by Lynn.
Hey, you know what? I just can't wait to have Jameis Winston in Pittsburgh in about not much longer.
You go ahead there on that one, Chief. Have fun with that.
I don't really want to do that. I love Big Ben still.
I love Jameis to death. I think the Bucs have totally screwed him over, and I think they haven't given him a chance or given him a lot of decent weapons. I mean, you have an injured Mike Evans. You have no running game. You have an offensive line that makes FSU's offensive line look decent. But no, Pittsburgh will be a worse situation. Sorry.
Jameis had the distinction of setting an all-time record with 30 touchdowns and 30 picks this year, the first quarter ever to achieve that.
Yeah.
He's very exciting to watch, pays the bills.
He has to do things. I mean, everyone talks about it. He has to throw interceptions. Well, he doesn't have to throw interceptions. He has to basically get rid of the ball because what is he going to do? He has no one to throw it to. He has no running game. He's never blocked. It's literally like he's playing Pop Warner football against NFL teams. That's what he's doing.
Yeah, no, that whole organization is a complete joke. First of all, you missed out on it's pretty much a wide receiver and a running back, Dalvin Cook, who has obviously had one of the best seasons this year as a running back in the NFL. If he were to just stay healthy throughout the whole season, it would be extremely dirty. But he had to miss out on a few games, and then also he's also great in the passing attack too. He's dirty. And you miss out on Dalvin. Also, Derwin James too. Derwin James was injured throughout a majority of the season too with surgery. But there's a question here. Logan needs a 6-pack to deal with Jason Parker's football talk.
Yes, And it's fine. I'll buy it for him, and I'll spend like $2.99 on the Natty Light, so it works out. It's cheap.
That is absolutely true. I do drink Natty Ice. There's a lot of people that keep on roasting me, but I do drink my Natty Ice. Had actually killed a 15-pack in one night just for the playoffs because that game was so boring because the 49ers whooped them. So boring after the first quarter. Decided to start killing a lot of beers, and I actually have a image that I had shown up for you. Oops, right there. That's for the play that one first half. Oh well, then that goes to that.
How many people in attendance there? How many did we get together? Two.
Ladies and gentlemen, join us next week here on Mark Rogers TV, the Voice of College Football, when we have an alcohol intervention with Logan. And we convince him that his liver is not going to graduate at the same time he does this coming April. Join us next week.
You are a newsman. That was good.
God, man. Seriously?
That was good. That was very good. Excellent promo. And I think we do need to, maybe we need to take this opportunity during the dead off season to do more important work.
Can't Logan? Isn't this where Logan tells us everyone to hit the like button? Go, Logan.
Yeah, it is. It is. I was about to say it's usually around 7:30, but now it's 7:48. Make sure you guys are hitting that like button. It helps a lot. We like to see numbers go up. I don't know how well we got about 75 people watching and only 35 likes. If we can get that to 45, that would be incredible. Even to 50, that would be nuts. But that's actually not too bad. There are already 35 likes. And without even having to say anything, but the likes help a lot. It makes this video go out to more people that also like watching college football. Mark Rogers puts out so many videos. How many videos a week do you think? Can you even count them?
We do about 4 a day on average. So we're about 130 to 140 a month.
That's
about 3 to 4 a day.
So any way to help Mark, he does this for free for everybody to watch, and I think it's incredible. Just throwing a like on there would help.
And how many of the amazing guest hosts like I have been the last 2 weeks?
Well, we'll get you your MVP of the week. Only of the month. You get the monthly MVP award.
I will break it. Definitely the month MVP, and it's going to be clinched next week because I got to break it to you too. I need you to carry it next week for me. I'm going to be down your way next week. I'm going to be in Vero Beach next week.
We'll do it live in Vero.
So are you gonna do my classes, Jason?
Now, Logan, just
that's what I thought.
Vero, I'm just letting you know, Vero is south of I-10, so you would actually have to leave that I-10 corridor and come down.
I can do that.
I'll come Daytona.
I love Daytona. You know that. I love going racing every year. Daytona we're getting off topic here. I could talk about Daytona a lot. I have a good time there every year.
Will you guess?
I'm sure you do.
Next. No, I can't. I have a contract with NBC. I can't go over to ABC. I'm sorry.
We have a lot of people asking also. I'm looking here on the chat about, who's going to replace TJ Rushing. And I'll start up a conversation here about Buckley. And I think we've talked about him multiple times on here, but Buckley's already obviously been hired by Ole Miss, and I don't see him really leaving. But I think Florida State, Norvell did, I believe, get in contact and kind of do his due diligence with Buckley. But there just didn't seem like there was his person that he wanted was obviously Rushing. But Buckley, I know you don't want to have a lot of former Noles on and everything, but this is a good coach coming in. I understand, you already have Odell, you have Dugans, but bringing in Buckley, he had one of the best. He has sent a lot of guys to the league. He actually had a really, really good defense in 2018, and his defensive backs played very, very well. You can go back and look at games, or you can go look at the record sheets. I study a lot. We talked about Buckley on our podcast quite a bit, and we also had him on. But Buckley wants to come to FSU. It just depends on who's hiring him, and this is all Norvell's choice. But I do, if someone was asking me, do I think Buckley would be a good hire for Florida State? Absolutely, and in a lot of ways. And on the straight up record sheets will show. I think he'd be a good coach.
I agree that I think Buckley would be a good hire if the situation was right, if the timing had just been right on that. And, things just happen. That's the way things go. My concern would be, and like we talked about this before, is hiring too many. I think it's too much. Like we had down here with Miami, their whole thing was hiring Alonzo Highsmith to come back in as the chief of staff and how let's bring in all these former coaches. Oh, Ed Reed would be great. Ray Lewis would be great. All these former coaches, all these former players and whatnot. The problem is there's too much of the whole living in the past. And we're guilty of it at Florida State, just like we make fun of Miami, we make fun of Notre Dame. We're guilty of it at Florida State. There's a lot of people who still think we're in the dynasty era of the 1990s. And the sooner you can get back to that era is by starting it all over again. We're at the bottom. The one positive thing you can say about having 2 straight losing seasons, literally the one positive thing you can say is that there is nowhere to go but up. At 6-7, if we go 8-4 in the regular season next year, it's a positive. If we can somehow manage 9 wins, if the schedule somehow plays out favorably and we can get 9 wins, it's all positive from there. So we just have to, at this point, we have to move on. We can't live in the 1990s and the late 1980s. We can't do that at this point.
Buckley, I was going to note on Buckley's 2018, his cornerbacks was incredible. His corners actually did not allow, I remember reading this, did not allow a touchdown during the 2018 regular season. Not one touchdown.
D. Howard, no, didn't really want to go to school. Why you want to tell the truth? You really want to go to school? I got accepted to Miami. Unlike many of the Miami fans on here, I actually got accepted to the school, but I didn't feel like being in debt for the rest of my life. So I went to Florida State.
So I'd like to make a distinction here just so we don't get confused and we don't mix up topics that we're going to address at different times. I'm going to be asking for your favorite Nole currently and all time, and then I'm going to be asking for the greatest Nole of all time and who you think is the best player on the team right now.
You just said you're not going to be here next week.
Whenever I'm going to do it. It's coming up.
So stay tuned. Next week is our intervention with Logan for his alcohol drinking.
That you need to take on all by yourself.
Then the week after that, we'll find someone. We'll get somebody here on this one.
They've got to pass the bar.
Yeah,
they got to pass by me.
Anybody, yeah.
I think Logan hasn't passed a bar. I think that's why we're having the intervention next week.
I have not passed. I've not passed a bar, but I passed out at a bar before. Yes. You gave that one to me too easy.
I know we did.
It was right there.
That was easy.
The week after that, we will go with Mark Rogers' prediction right here. And then this is another thing right here. Trayshawn Harrison going to Oregon State. I think it's a good move for him because I think Oregon State is going to be an up-and-coming program in the sense of they're not going to be 1-11 forever. But I do think it's going to be good for him to get exposure being the big man in an environment where if he can lead them to 3 wins, 4 wins, a 5-win season, he's going to be the reason why. So I think it's a good move for Trayshawn Harrison. I think you saw it coming once Willie Taggart left. I mean, Willie Taggart had recruited in the Washington, Oregon, California area, got Trayshawn to come in from the Seattle area. So I think it was bound to happen that he was going to head back north.
Yeah, closer. He goes back closer to home. Was Willie Taggart's guy. It's kind of simple from there. I don't know how he'll be. I mean, we saw that he had flashes of talent early on in his career at Florida State, but best of luck to him. There is Florida State's wide receiver unit is loaded. There's a lot of good playmakers too that are coming back to Florida State and coming in. Just need one more to make sure he ain't going anywhere else with Malachi Wideman. And I want to bring up real quick. I know we only have a few more minutes, but Peter Warwick off of the top 150 players in the college football list. What's up with that?
That's ESPN. ESPN has been a joke.
Whoa! Hey!
A certain network that is based in the state of Connecticut.
Unless you can reimburse my salary.
A certain network based out of the state of Connecticut that may have been founded, 40 years ago, has had the tendency to not give Florida State the credit that they deserve. So
if you can reimburse my salary, and my salary might have the differential between my salary and your salary as yours does and Jeff Lynn's. I don't know. Who knows?
Wait.
I mean, let's be honest. We both work in sports media. We don't make a lot of money. Basically, that's.
I don't know if you consider a lot of money. I'm not going to say one way or the other.
We go to games for the perks and the free food. Let's be honest. That's why we do a lot of this here. So.
Okay. Again.
I was going to say.
But I think I feel.
But wait, Johnny. Just to put it also out there, Johnny Manziel. was listed on there, but
Right,
no Peter Wark.
because that's the thing is if you ask and you go around campus right now and ask people about Peter Wark, there's not a lot of people who will know about how great Peter Wark is. And that's why I encourage everyone. I know it's going to sound cheesy. Go to YouTube, watch what he did. Peter Wark was never the fastest receiver until he had someone chasing him. And then all of a sudden, Peter Wark was probably one of the greatest wide receivers in college football history. I promise you, go to YouTube, watch the clips of him in college, and you will be amazed at what he was able to do.
Yeah, I didn't get to see him. I was too young, but I just, like you said, watch clips. My dad told me all about him. The man that I sit next to during games has always talked about Peter Wark and how elusive he was, and he was one of the most exciting people to watch on the field during his whole entire time. This man has been sitting inside Doak for 50-something years, and he said Peter Wark was insanity.
His performance in the Sugar Bowl against Virginia Tech was arguably one of the greatest performances I've ever seen in person. It was, I just remember, it was amazing.
Yeah.
Well,
And
understand we've had about 70 Heisman Trophy winners, and if there's going to be a list of greatest players listed, and I don't agree with this, but I'm just stating the way the perception is and what's going to be, how it's going to be addressed, is that if you win a Heisman Trophy, you're going to be on the list.
And Peter Wark was robbed. And I don't even from that time, but supposedly he was stupidly robbed.
So I'll ask you this question, Mark.
Or was a finalist at least.
Would you call
the year Ron Dane won, I believe, 1999, correct?
1999. But if he had played those two games against Miami, a nationally televised game against Wake Forest, he would have smoked it. He would have won it. But don't take blows from Dillards. That's what happens there.
And they say on air they should go and ship the Heisman Trophy to him right after the game against Virginia Tech.
That statement for a lot of Heisman trophies.
By that argument, Eric Crouch is one of the greatest players of all time, and I still don't think Eric Crouch should have won the Heisman Trophy in 2001. So the Heisman.
Ron Dane ran for 2,000 yards and 20 touchdowns, and his team won the Rose Bowl in the Big Ten championship.
Peter Wark played
for Florida State. Pardon me?
Peter Wark played for Florida State. I know that doesn't mean anything to you because you're not Noel, but you're hosting our show here. But Peter Wark, if he had played in those games, if you compare what Peter Wark did that season, I mean, the 99 team was the first one to finish undefeated, but they weren't as much of a complete team. That 2000 team was a much better team more statistically than that 99 team. Look up the numbers, Chief.
Peter Wark caught 71 passes for less than 1,000 yards. That's 13 yards per reception and 8 touchdowns.
And missed 2 games.
I know he missed 2 games. I will attest to Peter Wark's greatness. I think about him being one of the great receivers I've ever seen in college. No question about it. Those do not compare to rushing for 2,000 yards and 20 touchdowns.
Said the Big Ten fan.
No, said 2,000 yards, which happens, what about it? How many guys have run for 2,000 yards in a collegiate season? Like 6. How many guys have caught 70 passes in a season? Oh, about 807. There's really no...
Didn't some guy from Oklahoma State just run for 2,000 yards? The Canadian.
Jonathan Taylor ran for 2,000 yards.
Jonathan Taylor was
close to it. Or maybe Chuba Hubbard did. Yeah, It's been done like 6 or 7 times in history. Not times.
Dennis Wilson giving a shout out to Barry Alvarez for that work. Shout out to Barry Alvarez.
I'm looking at, let's see, that 1990 class, Ron Dane, Joe Hamilton, Michael Vick, Drew Brees, Chad, and then it was Peter Wark voted for number 6th overall.
And I'm just saying, if Peter Wark does play in that Miami game, a nationally televised game against a Miami team that was still a decent Miami team at that point, and he's able to have a very good game there, I think he wins the Heisman.
Maybe. We'll never know.
Dennis, you're being crazy in the comments. You're being ignorant. Being ignorant.
Or will
Dennis say why y'all keep this Peter Wark thing going? He was basic. Shaking my head. You know he's being silly.
All right.
Someone get him in the comments.
Friends, next week when we have our intervention on Logan, we're also going to have an intervention for Dennis Wilson. We're going to let him know what it's like to be a real fan. We're going to teach him that it's okay to root for your team, but have some common sense. That's next week.
Jason has control of the stream. I have things to do. I need to go. you guys can continue on about Peter Warwick or whatever you'd like to talk about, interventions for the next 4 hours. I get views for that, and that's absolutely fine with me.
I gotta go to sleep soon. Let's calm down on that one.
Absolutely. Well, Florida State, big basketball game. I know we don't talk about the big game Saturday.
We talked about the first thing.
We don't talk about it.
Oh.
It's a football channel. All right, boys. Again, you're welcome to keep this thing going.
Next week, next Tuesday, 8 o'clock.
There you go.
I'll also have more time. I got to go crack open a cold one.
I'm going to go to sleep.
Everyone, I believe it's going to be next Tuesday at 7 o'clock with these two.
See you next week.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.